This is your tech news briefing for Tuesday, January 3rd. Happy New Year. I'm Julie Chang for the Wall Street Journal, filling in for Zoe Thomas. CES, the big annual consumer electronics show, kicks off this week. Each year, thousands of companies, including many smaller ones, get a chance to show what they're working on to potential future partners and customers. The past few years, the event, run by the Consumer Technology Association, was disrupted by the COVID pandemic. So many tech watchers are looking forward to this year's show and its anticipated 3,000 plus exhibitors. Here to give us a rundown on what we can expect is our personal tech reporter, Dalvin Brown. Hi, Dalvin. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, Dalvin, for those of us who may not be so familiar with CES, can you describe it a little bit for us? What is CES all about?
So every year up until the pandemic, thousands, tens or hundreds of thousands of reporters, analysts, and entrepreneurs have descended upon Las Vegas to find out what's new, what's buzzing in the world of personal technology. And what happens is entrepreneurs, smaller and larger tech companies, show their latest and greatest ideas. And the motivations for them is to either get press, to get more investment, to build collaboration. They just use it as an opportunity to talk about some of the things that they've been working on.
Dalvin, you covered CES in the past. Were there any companies last year that stood out to you?
So there's always, some announcements out of big companies. So Sleep Number had a new bed that responds to your body, and Samsung had a new projector that already had all the apps baked in. But startups really come up with some of the more creative and unusual ideas out of CES often. And what really caught my attention was Novetto N1, which was basically a sound bar for your desk. But when audio plays out of it, only the user can hear it, no one else in the room. So it would beam audio to your ears so no one around you could hear it. I was really excited about that. In fact, lots of other journalists were excited too. It made our best of CES list, and it was on lots of other outlets lists from last year. But the product never came out. One of the things that was really exciting when they announced it was not only do they have this concept, but it would be shipping to people within 2 to 3 months. And I was waiting. So were lots of people who supported the Kickstarter, but one of the investors in the company filed for bankruptcy, and Novetto was not able to secure enough funding to push out the product. So we never saw it.
Yeah, we are in some economically uncertain times. What kind of impact do we expect that to have at this year's event?
One of the things that's different this year is that there will be fewer startups at CES. And that's particularly important because, like I said, startups go there to find funding and create some of the most innovative gadgets at CES, and there are fewer of them. So I think that's one indication that the economic conditions are having an impact on entrepreneurs. They're having a harder time securing funding from VC investors. Gadget makers in particular have always faced unique challenges when it comes to investment. They not only have to find materials, but also ship them and then ship products out to people, whereas software companies don't, and therefore are a safer investment. But yeah, the gadget makers are seeing VC funding evaporate now that the factories in China are shut down or having difficulties dealing with the pandemic. You have the Fed raising interest rates, which makes it harder for entrepreneurs to borrow. It makes it more expensive for them to borrow money. And it also makes consumers spend less. And so if you're spending less, you're probably not taking a chance on a startup when, there are tried and true legacy companies offering products that you may want.
And for those that do show up, what kind of changes might we see?
Yeah, so some of the analysts that I spoke to said that they don't expect a glitzy show this year full of pie in the sky concepts that may never come to fruition but are really cool to look at. They're expecting perhaps incremental changes to devices that people already have. But as far as innovation is concerned, they're not expecting, a widespread assortment of gadgets that no one has ever seen before.
And there's also been some geopolitical tensions between the US and China as the US tries to maintain its technological competitive edge. Do we expect that to have any kind of impact at this year's trade show?
Well, some of the analysts I spoke to said that they're expecting fewer Chinese exhibitors. And beyond that, anytime you make it more difficult to exchange technology between the US and China or any other manufacturing hubs, you make it tougher for entrepreneurs who are already at a disadvantage. Larger tech companies get prioritized by factories and have a lot more options that the little guys just don't have.
And Dalvin, we can't talk about CES without talking about the consumers. What are some of the tech trends that we can expect from the gadgets coming out this year?
Earlier in the pandemic, we saw a plethora of smart masks and air purification technologies and robots that zap viruses and bacteria as people were more conscious about health. And we often see a lot of the same themes cycle through the years at CES, but what analysts tell me they're expecting more of this year is a focus on technologies catered to smaller groups of people that might have gotten left behind in previous years. We have an aging population that has money to spend, and they're expecting more companies to create gadgets geared toward that population. The product categories that analysts are really expecting to pop this year will be things that people would still buy or invest in during an economic downturn. So people are still going to pay attention to childcare. People are still going to pay attention to their health. Accessibility related products. You still need to get around. We also expect to see technology related to the metaverse and the future of the internet.
All right, Dalvin, we'll have to leave it there. Dalvin Brown, WSJ personal tech reporter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it for today's Tech News Briefing. If you want more tech stories, check out our website, WSJ.com. I'm Julie Chang for the Wall Street Journal. Thanks for listening.